Hello friends, I am Dr. Rishit Shah, medical oncologist at Apollo CBCC Cancer Care.
Hi friends, this is Dr. Vijay, surgical oncologist at Apollo CBCC Cancer Care, Ahmedabad.
So today we are going to discuss kidney cancers, how common it is, what are the common signs and symptoms which with patient presents, how it is diagnosed, and what are the treatment options for the kidney cancers. So kidney cancers is more common in males than females. It is twofold more common in males. Commonly it is seen in the 5th to 7th decade of the life, that is in 50s and 50s to 70s. Usually kidney cancers arises on the outer part of the kidney, which is the bean shaped organ. Outer part of the kidney is we call it renal cortex. So from that it is arises usually from single kidney, and when it is localized it has certain kind of symptoms. When it progresses and spreads to the other organs, it has another bunch of symptoms that we will be discussing. So and survival after kidney cancer is day by day increasing, so that is the good news that we have. So with this background, I would like to ask Dr. Vijay that what are the risk factors for this kidney cancers?
Right, Rishit, you have given a very brief and good introduction about kidney cancers. And when it comes to risk factors are something which mean that there is an increased chance of getting a disease when you have a risk factor. But that also doesn't mean that if you have the risk factor, you are definitely going to get it. So with this brief topic about the risk factor, I just want to tell the risk factors for kidney cancers. Particularly, they are smoking and obesity and hypertension. These
Right.
three are established risk factors for kidney cancers, and out of which smoking and obesity are definitely are modifiable risk factors, while hypertension is also interlinked to smoking and obesity. Maybe these also have a role in hypertension too.
Right.
These are kind of modifiable risk factors, but there are certain non-modifiable risk factors like gender, like the way how you have told that male people are at a higher risk when compared to women. So that is definitely a non-modifiable risk factor. Apart from this, there are certain genetic syndromes also, which are again non-modifiable risk factor, wherein if you have that defect in the gene, definitely there is a higher chance of getting cancer. Particularly, for example, von Hippel-Lindau gene, which we usually say. And also, apart from this, there are certain other studies which also mention that acetaminophen usage, painkiller usage, also
Right.
leads to cancers, but not so strongly proven thing. One more risk factor is about in certain patients who have a chronic kidney damage and are on dialysis since long, so they are also at a higher risk of developing kidney cancer on a longer term, if at all they are surviving with those things. So with this topic on risk factors, what would you tell about the clinical features, like what should be the patients be aware of?
Right. So when the kidney cancer is in early stages or localized, patient have certain bunch of symptoms that they may have this blood in the urine, or feeling some lump in the abdomen, some swelling in the abdomen, and abdominal pain in the area of flank that we call on both sides of the back. So these are the area where patient can have swelling, can have pain, and as well as independently can have blood in the urine. These are the common symptoms with which usually a patient presents in localized stage. When this cancer spreads to the other organs, they may have symptoms pertaining to the spread of those particular organs. The unfortunate thing is many patients are asymptomatic in the early stages and just develop symptoms when it has spread to the other organs. So those symptoms are cough, breathlessness, feeling of decreased appetite, feeling of nausea, okay, and more symptoms are weight loss or anemia, that is decrease in the hemoglobin, as well as patient can have a headache, convulsion when the cancer has spread to the brain. Patient also can have bony pains when it spreads to the bones. So these are the symptoms when it develops into the advanced stage. So with this background regarding the clinical features of which patient presents, I would like to know how we approach to the patients when he or she presents with this kind of symptoms.
Right. So with the clinical feature, suppose if any patient walks in into my OPD, and before starting this, most of the times what happens in our scenarios is that we just get patients with a ultrasound report in their hand saying that, sir, someone has told that I have a problem in the kidney.
True.
So that is the usual scenario which we see. But otherwise, even if the patient regularly presents with a clinical presentation, as you have mentioned, definitely we need to take the proper history in a chronological order, then do a proper clinical examination, whether there is any palpable ballotable lump in the abdomen or not. So apart from this, definitely we need to get them certain investigations done, like an ultrasound abdomen pelvis, which is more easily available and at a lesser rate, only to know the organ of origin from where the lump is originating. And followed by, suppose if the patient has a ultrasound in his hand, then we can directly go ahead with a contrast enhanced CT of the abdomen and pelvis, depending on the kidney function, whether we can use a contrast or not. So why do we do a CT scan of abdomen pelvis? One, to confirm the location of the tumor, on which pole of the kidney it is, whether the vascular involvement is there or not, how far it has got spread from the kidney, how is the opposite kidney. There are multiple things which we can see in the CT scan. So definitely a CT scan is important. Suppose that due to some other reasons, if the CT scan can't be done, like if suppose the patient has a chronic kidney damage, as I've already mentioned, in those situations maybe we can just rely upon MRI of the kidney also. Apart from this, once if we confirm that if there is a suspicious lesion on the ultrasound which is being confirmed on a CT scan that it may be a malignancy, we need to do a workup and to rule out whether the disease is just confined to the kidney or not, or whether it has got spread to other areas. Like in other situations, we can use a PET CT scan, but in case of kidney cancers, PET CT scans are not that reliable like in other cancers. So here we just depend on a CT scan of the chest, or even a normal chest X-ray would also be okay.
Right.
Apart from these, one more important thing which I want to mention here is about the tissue diagnosis in kidney cancers. Usually in other cancers, we do suggest, from our side we tell that biopsy is must to confirm the diagnosis. But particularly when it comes to kidney cancers, our soul and soul, we just rely upon the CT findings itself, because around about 80 to 90% of the cases CT scan is confirmatory. In certain selected cases, definitely when there is a suspicion even on a CT scan, and there are certain other suspicions in our mind depending on the history of the patient, then definitely we would try to get in a biopsy. Otherwise, tissue diagnosis to confirm kidney cancer is not mandatory to proceed further treatments, like particularly surgery.
Right.
So having said this, I just want to know about because the most common question which usually patients ask me when I start counseling them about surgery, the first and the single most question which I notice in them is that they'll be just asking me, sir, can I survive with a single kidney? So you are saying that you will be removing an entire kidney.
Right.
So can I survive with a single kidney? What's your take to it?
Yeah. So usually patients have this tumor in one kidney, solitary kidney, and the opposite kidney is normal, unless it is affected by some other diseases or other pathologies. So in that case, we can surely we can go ahead with surgery. The message is patient can live normally with the one single kidney. So even if the opposite kidney is removed, patient can still survive, and still the opposite kidney is functioning normally. So that is okay for the patients. So there is no need to worry regarding that question, that can I live with single kidney or not. Right. So going ahead with this, I would like to ask you that what are the usual surgical modalities that we offer to these kidney cancer patients?
Right. So as you have rightly said that the patient can survive with a single kidney, like that happens even if a patient donates his kidney also. Those people are also surviving with single kidney only. So extrapolating those things into our treatments would also be sufficient. So when you ask about this particular question about what are the surgical modalities specifically, definitely things have come down from radical to conservative procedures. Things have come down from major morbid, bigger scar surgeries to smaller minimal invasive surgeries also. But having said this, definitely everything has got its own indications and its own patient characteristic features and patient status also to choose these certain kinds of treatments. So before entering into particularly surgery aspect, I just want to add one more point. Like suppose if a patient has a very low life expectancy, that if in extremes of age groups, or sometimes if he is not fit for any kind of procedure including the surgery, then there are two modalities available. One is an active surveillance, wherein we just keep the patient under observation, and second one is a radio frequency ablation, where we just burn the tumorous part over there. But the drawback of that is we would never know whether there is kidney cancer in it or not, because we are not getting a tissue for diagnosis. Leaving that apart, So definitely, depending on the tumor size, tumor location, and also the involvement of the vessels, we always try to conserve the kidney by doing a partial nephrectomy. This is called as a kidney saving procedure in normal terminology, but in our terminology we call it as a nephron sparing approach, where partial nephrectomies are being done to save the kidney even though the opposite kidney is functional. This has to be kept in mind. We never take it for granted that the opposite kidney is functional so that we can remove this entire kidney. That is no longer advocated. So unless there is an indication that the entire kidney has to be removed, like a large tumor or the involvement of the entire vascularity of that particular kidney, we'll never remove the entire kidney. So partial nephrectomies are advocated definitely in all cases, if it is feasible. Otherwise, if we have to go ahead with a radical nephrectomy, definitely yes, we'll remove the entire kidney along with the adrenal gland also in that particular scenario, and along with the fat surrounding the kidney actually. So these are the surgical modalities: one, a kidney saving procedure like a partial nephrectomy, and two, a radical nephrectomy. Both of it has got its own indications. And apart from this, suppose if the disease has got spread to other organs of the body, in all other cancers, most of the other cancers, if the disease has got spread to other vital organs in the body, we prefer not to operate the primary origin of the tumor. But especially in case of kidney cancers, if the tumor burden is such that main tumor burden is because of the kidney tumor itself, in those cases we can go ahead with a kidney surgery, removal of the kidney, which we term it as a cytoreductive nephrectomy, wherein we are reducing the tumor burden by removing the kidney, but having the rest of the tumor still there in those vital organs, which are being targeted by utilization of the targeted therapy. So because we have reached to this extent of talking about targeted therapy, can you please throw a light on those kind of scenarios?
So as a medical oncologist, our role in treating kidney cancers is giving targeted therapy as well as immunotherapy. So I wanted to mention that there is no or very less role of conventional chemotherapy that we use in other kind of cancers. Here we use targeted therapy more commonly, that is given in the form of oral tablets. So by giving these oral tablets, we can reduce the hospital visits, reduce the admissions, as well as the quality of life is better actually. And yes, there are some side effects with these targeted therapeutic agents also, but those are different and less from the chemotherapeutic drugs. With this targeted oral drugs, patient may develop increase in the blood pressure, thickening in the skin of palms or soles. He or she can also develop diarrhea or decrease in some blood counts like hemoglobin, WBC or platelet counts. But most of the side effects are quite manageable, and patient usually continue their treatment as long as it works. And another added options in kidney cancers are immunotherapeutic drugs. So again, these are new additions to the treatment, and with immunotherapy there are no side effects like conventional chemotherapeutic drugs. Yes, we have to monitor certain parameters like thyroid function test, sugars, and some other tests, and we have to watch for any immunogenic side effects that patient may develop. So with this targeted therapy as well as immunotherapy, survival in kidney cancer patients have substantially increased, and they are living a good quality of life. So after talking about this medical oncology part regarding targeted and immunotherapy, Vijay, I would like to ask, what is the usual follow-up that we offer our patients after the treatment or with ongoing treatment?
So rightly said, Rushit. So follow-up is definitely important, like in all other cancers. Even in kidney cancer, follow-up is very important, and it also depends upon the modality which we actually chose and the stage of the patient. Like as I've already mentioned about active surveillance and also radiofrequency ablation, these are the two situations where very close follow-up is required. Otherwise, if we have done a partial nephrectomy or a radical nephrectomy, like the routine regular procedures if we have opted for, definitely the normal routine follow-up schedule would be actually used. Like, so we'll call them once in a while, once in 3 months initially, wherein we just take the proper history, ask the symptoms, do a local examination, and if required, an ultrasound of abdomen, pelvis, and including the kidney function test would be mandatory.
Right.
Suppose if the patient has developed certain symptoms during those follow-up periods, definitely again another workup will have to be done to look for any metastatic spread or not. Again, change of treatment would be there. If at all the patient has already been on on targeted therapy, or immunotherapy, like you have rightly said in case of metastatic disease, definitely the follow-up interval and the investigations while they are coming for follow-up would change pertaining to the treatment they are on. Like complete bed picture has to be done in certain kind of scenarios, and sometimes even we need to see the response assessment also, how the disease is responding to particular immunotherapy or targeted therapy, only to choose whether to be on the same treatment or to go on a second line or a third line, depending on whatever treatment they are going through. So follow-up is helpful in these kind of situations.
Yes.
And on a longer run also, follow-up is much more better, because we need to see, because our other kidney is always at a risk, so the investigations have to be done to see how is the opposite kidney, and it's only the investigation which shows the opposite kidney, because clinical examination we can never know how is the kidney functioning, how is the kidney actually on the opposite side.
Right.
So this has to be done. Follow-up is definitely mandatory, and if at all something comes up at a later date, again it will have to be treated as a new thing in the new kidney. And or else, if sometimes in certain situations a patient may also develop certain metastatic symptoms, and again metastatic workup has to be done, and as you have rightly said, again he may have to be put onto targeted therapy and immunotherapy as well.
Right. So follow-ups are actually very important because, and it may happen that in earlier phase of the treatment, patient need to be followed up more frequently to assess the toxicities, to get some reports frequently to assess the benefits as well as toxicity. Otherwise, we usually call up our patients who are in advanced stage also every 2 to 3 monthly.
And also the response assessment will also be done with.
Yes. So it is also needs to be assessed.
Right.
So any more questions, Vijay?
I think we have covered almost all basic topics which patients may need.
Right. So I think this is it. The message is patient has to be vigilant enough, or we as a people, general public also, we have to be vigilant enough about any such kind of symptoms that we have already mentioned, and please go to the doctor, physicians or surgeon if such kind of symptom develops, to get yourself assessed. And even if someone is diagnosed with the kidney cancer, and they need to be worried, and in early stages, as you have mentioned, that it can definitely be cured with surgery only, and in advanced stages only there is there may be very long survival with targeted as well as immunotherapy. So this is it. If you have any questions or suggestions, you can anytime go to our respective pages, or you can comment below. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.